Yo, Jay-Z just broke his silence on A$AP Rocky, and what he allegedly said behind closed doors got the whole industry shook. We're talking about a message so calculated, so cold. Insiders are calling it a flat-out warning aimed straight at Rocky's chest. This ain't beef. This is something worse. And Rocky? Bro really thought 5 little words was gonna save him from the most powerful man in hip-hop. Before we get into it, subscribe, don't miss it. Nah. Aubrey Free Zone. This one's about Rakim Myers, A$AP Rocky himself, who dropped a 5-word answer about Rihanna's Savage X Fenty laundry campaign during a sit-down tied to his April 2026 W magazine press run. The exact quote, "Her body, her choice. It's not for me to control." Rocky really thought that line was gonna land him a Father of the Year trophy. Nah, brew. He thought he was being progressive. He thought he was being modern. He thought he was being the cool dad of hip-hop. But what he actually did, bro just handed Jay-Z the loaded gun, took 5 steps back, and said, "Go ahead, take your shot." That's not a flex. That's a setup. And he walked himself right into it like he didn't know who's been watching him from across the boardroom for the past 14 years. Now let's look at the receipts that show why this might have backfired in the worst way. Because once you stack the quotes, the timeline, and the body language, you will see this wasn't a slip. This was a public unraveling, broadcast in HD, and Hall didn't even need to lift a finger. Alright, let me walk you all through these receipts one by one because the quotes here are crazy when you stack them together. And I'm not exaggerating. By the time we get to receipt number 5, you're gonna be sitting back in your chair like, oh no, Rocky. Because individually, each quote sounds harmless. Stacked, it looks like a man building his own coffin in real time. First receipt. In that W magazine sit-down dated April 22nd, 2026, Rocky said about Rihanna, and I quote, "She has changed a lot because she became a mother in that time span, and that certainly changes you. But this woman..." When I read that, I was like, okay, sweet, he's praising her. Cool. But then the same press cycle hits him with a body question, and bro pivots hard. Like the kind of pivot you do when the floor opens up under you. 1 minute is gushing about motherhood and growth. The next minute is doing legal disclaimers like he's reading off a teleprompter at a divorce deposition. That tonal whiplash? That's the part nobody's analyzing. You went from poet to PR robot in the same conversation. My guy, that's not romance. That's a man who realized mid-sentence that he was being recorded and switched into self-preservation mode. Second receipt. Asked directly about Rihanna's Savage X Fenty Valentine's laundry shoot, Rocky said, "It's her body, her choice. It's not for me to control." When I heard this, I had to do a double take. Bro said what? 5 words. That's the entire answer. No defense. No, and you'll stay out of her business. No nothing. That's the dumbest flex I've ever heard considering WHO is standing next to. Like, you understand the optics, right? You understand that you ain't just any rapper anymore, right? You're the husband of Rihanna Fenty, a woman whose business empire was valued at over $1.4 billion when Forbes ran the numbers on a billionaire status. When you have that much capital sitting next to you, you don't get to be casual. You don't get to be cool. Every word is a stock price. And Rocky just took a hammer to his own portfolio with 5 careless syllables. Third receipt. The campaign itself, fans were already roasting it before Rocky even opened his mouth. Yahoo reported the Savage X Fenty Valentine's Day visuals were getting blasted online for being poorly done and allegedly distorted. OK Magazine ran with the same angle, calling out alleged Photoshop fails. So Rocky walked into a press cycle with the campaign already under fire, and his rebuttal was her body, her choice. Nah, you can't say that and expect Jay-Z to take you seriously. That's like walking into a burning building and yelling, well, fire's a personal choice. It's not a defense. It's an evacuation. And what the casual viewer doesn't realize is that Savage X Fenty isn't just a vanity project. It's a Rihanna-led joint venture that previously raised $125 million in Series B funding back in 2021 to expand its retail and digital footprint. So when investors see the husband of the founder publicly disengaging during a backlash cycle, that's not feminism. That's a market signal. And Hall of all people knows exactly how to read market signals. Fourth receipt. Industry chatter. According to a recent breakdown, Jay-Z allegedly broke his silence with what insiders are calling a 9-word message moving through Rock Nation hallways. Unconfirmed, but the tone? Calculated, sharp, aimed at one man and one man only. And here's what's wild about Hov. When he does speak, he doesn't waste words. This is the same man who built an entire empire on lyrics so airtight law professors literally teach them in classrooms. Harvard Law has cited his lyrical structure in legal scholarship discussions, and his catalog has been the subject of academic papers across major universities. So when those alleged 9 words are described as calculated, believe it, Hov doesn't whisper unless every syllable is a knife. And industry insiders moving through Rock Nation right now are saying the energy in those rooms shifted overnight, like a thermostat dropped 20 degrees and nobody knows where the cold is coming from. Except they do know. And his name starts with an A. 5th receipt. And don't forget, Rihanna herself has spoken on her bond with Jay-Z. She's literally credited him and Beyoncé for guiding her early career on the record. When I saw that clip resurface this week, I was like, oh, Jay-Z is standing in this conversation. He didn't just sign her. He raised her career. He flew her to New York at 16, sat across from her in that Def Jam office, and reportedly didn't let her leave until that contract was inked, a story that's been dissected for years across multiple outlets. That's not a label boss move. That's a guardian move. And in Hov's mind, you don't put 21 years of guardianship into someone just to watch a husband publicly distance himself from a brand on a national press run. That's not just disrespect. In the unwritten code Hov operates by, that's a violation of lineage. Now that we got the quotes, let's connect the dots. Now here's where it gets crazy, because the timeline tells a story that nobody's putting together properly. And once I lay this out for you, you're not going to be able to UNC it. This is a kind of timeline that turns a 5-word answer into a full-blown industry earthquake. That W magazine cover, it dropped spring 2026 with Rihanna recreating her iconic 2023 cover, this time with baby Rocky Irish Myers in frame. That same press cycle is when the lingerie controversy peaked. So Rocky's interview, Rihanna's family cover rollout, and the Savage X Fenty Valentine's drop were all happening in the same news week. That's not coincidence. That's a rollout. And bro really thought Jay-Z wouldn't be watching every single beat of it? Terrible read of the room. Brew. Look, when you're orchestrating multiple cover stories, a brand campaign, and a personal interview in the same 7-day window, that's not organic. That's a publicist-coordinated media blitz. Somebody, likely on Rihanna's team, was conducting an entire orchestra, and Rocky was supposed to be playing in tune. Instead, he played the wrong note in the loudest concert hall available. The 2023 W magazine cover that started this aesthetic legacy, that one was already a milestone in fashion media history because of how it positioned Rihanna's pregnancy as art, recreating that 3 years later with a husband who just fumbled a body autonomy question. That's an art piece colliding with a PR disaster. In real time, now layer in this, A$AP Rocky publicly confirmed at the 2025 Met Gala that they were expecting their 3rd child. So we got 3 kids, RZA, Riot Rose, and baby Rocky, a full family unit. And Rocky has reportedly carried the household financially for 3 straight years. Behind the scenes, the man is stepping up. Quietly. But Jay-Z's whole thing? Public posture. Visible authority. So if Rocky is built for the private game while Jay-Z respects only the public one, you can already see where the wires get crossed. And here's the thing nobody's saying. Rocky has been a rare male partner in modern hip-hop who's avoided the gossip blog trap. No cheating allegations. No baby mama drama. No public meltdowns. That alone makes him an outlier. Compare that to the long list of high-profile rapper relationships that imploded publicly over the past 5 years, and the contrast is glaring. Rocky has been quietly running a clean ship, just not the ship Hov designed back in 2005. And that's the disconnect. Then there's a relationship history nobody's talking about. Rihanna says she and Rocky first connected in 2012 on the Cockiness remix and at 2012 VMA's performance, and they only started dating with a lot of caution. That word, caution, is loud. She wasn't naive about who she was bringing into her circle, which means whatever protocols were set with Jay-Z over the past 20 years, Rocky was supposed to learn them. So if he did this on purpose, any smart person with that much money on the line would have asked the mentor first. But Rocky isn't moving like that. And that timing, his interview dropping the same week as a campaign already getting ratioed, that's when you know he doesn't have real advisors in the room. Oh, plot twist. He has advisors and is actively ignoring them. Both options spell trouble in slightly different colors. The Cockiness remix performance from 2012? That's a moment fans pinpoint as a spark. Rihanna kissing Rocky's ring on stage at the VMAs, a moment that still goes viral every year on TikTok. 14 years later, the kiss has become a marriage, a family, and now, possibly, a Cold War. From ring kiss to ring war. That's a hell of an arc. Then there's the Roc Nation pattern. Roc Nation, founded by Jay-Z back in 2008, isn't just a label, it's a full-service entertainment empire. When that machine goes quiet on you, the silence has receipts. And remember those alleged 9 words. Industry insiders say Roc Nation always have felt different since this comment. Subtle, unspoken, but real. So, opposition, really thought nobody would connect these dots? Roc Nation has expanded into sports management, philanthropy through the Sean Carter Foundation, and even production through Roc Nation Films, a sprawling network with documented partnerships across the NFL, the music industry, and major streaming platforms. When you piss off the head of that octopus, the tentacles you didn't even know were touching your career start tightening. And that's the part Rocky may not have calculated. Because Hov doesn't lash out, he reorganizes calendars. He removes seats from rooms. He skips invites. And those small moves echo for years. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Now check this out. Nobody's talking about the word choice. Zoom in on it's not for me to control. That word, control, that's a tell. In Jay-Z's vocabulary, control isn't a dirty word. Control is legacy. Control is the whole reason Roc Nation exists. The whole reason he kept a 16-year-old Rihanna in that office until 3 a.m. to lock her in. For Hov, control equals stewardship. So when Rocky distanced himself from that exact word in public, to a Jay-Z mind, that doesn't read as respect. It reads as abdication. And Rocky really didn't catch that? That's embarrassing. Hov has built his entire 30-year empire on the idea that control is gospel. The man literally co-owns publishing rights, masters, real estate, fashion stakes, and tequila brands, every single one of them an exercise in control. To watch a 37-year-old protege by marriage publicly distance himself from that exact word on a media platform Hov respects is, to him, generational disrespect dressed up as feminism. Now check the structure. Her body, her choice. 2 clauses, both ending in possession of her. Linguistically, Rocky removed himself from the sentence entirely. There's no we. There's no I support. There's no plural pronoun anywhere. Bro grammatically vanished. From a forensic standpoint, that's not modern feminism. That's strategic exit. If Rocky had half a brain, he would have said she's grown. We're good. Next question. Instead, he handed the internet a clip with no protective language at all. And here's a linguistics nerd version of why this matters. Pronoun analysis is literally a method used in forensic linguistics to detect distancing and deception, a methodology written about across academic and journalism contexts. The absence of we in a married man's answer about his wife's brand? That's a linguistic equivalent of him sliding his wedding ring off mid-sentence. And the internet caught it. They just didn't have the vocabulary to articulate why they felt off. Now check the platform. He didn't say this on his own podcast. He didn't say it on Drink Champs. He said it on a W magazine press run. Same outlet doing the family cover. And that detail is forensic gold. Why would you go neutral on the same platform that's selling your family image? Either it's a coordinated rollout, more on that later, or it's a brand management mistake. Either way, opposition thought that line was a flex. Nah, brew, that was a self-inflicted wound disguised as a feminist talking point. W magazine isn't TMZ. W magazine is high fashion, art direction, legacy media, a publication that's been running celebrity covers since the 1970s and shapes red carpet lookbooks across multiple seasons. When you go ON that platform and detach from your wife's brand mid-sentence, you're not just talking to fans. You're talking to fashion editors, brand executives, and luxury investors. And every single one of them just took notes. And the ad-lib at the end, it's not for me to control. That extra sentence. He didn't have to say that. He said it anyway. The voice inflection on control is what insiders are stuck on. Was it sarcasm aimed at Hov's old-school philosophy? Was it accidental? That's a problem with Rocky. He doesn't read between the lines. He just says it. And that's almost the scariest possibility. Because if it was accidental, he's reckless. If it was intentional, he's declaring war. There is no third option that's safe for him. He picked one of two losing doors and walked through it on camera. Now let's see how the media covered this. The framing war on this story is divided, and that's where the real shape of the conflict is hiding. Because remember, every outlet has an angle. Every angle has a benefactor. And by the time you finish this section, you're gonna see exactly which media factions are protecting which side of this narrative. Yahoo framed Rihanna's laundry rollout as facing backlash from fans, putting the heat on her side, not Rocky's. That spin makes Rocky's response look like a defensive shield, which is pro-Rocky framing whether they meant it or not. Yahoo has a long history of running celebrity-friendly entertainment content with an emphasis on social media virality, so a framing that puts the audience versus Rihanna angle front and center is on brand for them. It's not malicious. It's just clicky. And clicky often equals consequences, because Rocky's quote suddenly looks heroic instead of evasive when you frame Rihanna as a one under fire. OK Magazine went a different route. Full focus on Rihanna being called out for alleged photo distortion. Notice how that interpretation conveniently ignores the Rocky angle entirely. That's how you bury an inconvenient narrative. You flood the zone with a different one. OK Magazine's focus on tabloid-style framing has long been part of its brand identity, with the publication operating in the celebrity gossip lane for years. What that means in practice is that their readership cares about the visual scandal, not the husband's words. So Rocky gets a free pass on their pages. And don't think Rocky's PR team didn't notice. That's the kind of pickup an entire media plan is built around. Then HuffPo circled all the way back to that resurfaced 2005 Def Jam signing story, framing Jay-Z's old joke about teenage Rihanna as having not aged well. The cut did the same kind of long-look retrospective on the Jay-Z or Rihanna dynamic. Now, interesting timing. These resurfaces hit the same news cycle as Rocky's body comment. Coincidence? Some Rocky fans are saying yeah, of course. But those are the same people who thought her body, her choice was a Hall of Fame answer. Nah. The pattern of old quotes resurfacing right when a new narrative needs a counterweight is one of the oldest PR plays in the book. Industry watchers have written extensively about coordinated narrative seeding via age content. When you see a 21-year-old Def Jam anecdote suddenly going viral again in the exact week Rocky needs cover, that's not the algorithm. That's strategy. Now here's a counter-narrative. Real Voices framed Rocky's quote as being really about autonomy rather than indifference. Pro-Rocky spin, no doubt. The receipts from earlier don't fully back that up, though. Autonomy doesn't require Rocky to grammatically delete himself from the sentence. Rocky supporters are reaching trying to defend this. The media trying to spin it as modern man wins, but the receipts don't lie. Because here's the truth. Autonomy and partnership aren't mutually exclusive. You can support a woman's autonomy and say, I'm proud of her work. Rocky did the first without the second. And in PR, the omissions are louder than the statements. But here's what nobody is saying. Mainstream is selling you one of two stories. Either Rocky is a modern king who respects his woman's autonomy, or Rocky fumbled a bag and Jay-Z is gonna humble him. Both takes are lazy. Here's what they won't tell you. And once I drop this on you, you're not gonna be able to look at this story the same way again. This is the section the algorithm doesn't want sitting at the top of your feed. This isn't a beef. This is a cultural handoff. And Jay-Z is fighting it tooth and nail. Pick the angle, cultural impact. We are watching the old guard of hip-hop relationships die in real time, and Rocky is the unwilling executioner. Jay-Z built his empire on a specific gospel. A man's job is to control the narrative around his woman. Rock Nation is literally a control machine. That's not an insult. That's a brand. He locked Rihanna in at 16 because that's what stewardship looked like in 2005. Rocky walks in 21 years later and grammatically erases himself from his wife's body conversation. That's not just disagreement. That's heresy against the Hov doctrine. Jay-Z is a puppet of his own playbook, and the playbook is screaming at him that Rocky disrespected the entire system. He doesn't see a disagreement. He sees the END of his era. And the worst part for Hov? The numbers back the new era. Studies on Gen Z dating culture have shown a sharp generational shift away from protector framing toward partner framing in romantic relationships. The culture has already voted. Jay-Z is just the last one to read the polls. Here's the second layer mainstream won't say. Rocky is braver than people are giving him credit for. Choosing those 5 words on a W magazine press run. When you know Rock Nation is watching, that's not passivity. That's a flag plant. Rocky is publicly declaring that the Carter-style protection model doesn't apply to his household. And remember those alleged 9 words moving through Rock Nation hallways? Hall would only feel the need to send a private warning if he knew the public message had already been sent. Rocky is playing chess. Jay-Z is playing chess back. The difference? Rocky moved first. We've seen this before. Our opposition is repeating the same mistakes that ended a lot of mogul reputations, clinging to a power structure that the culture is done with. Look at the trajectory of other old guard moguls who tried to stay relevant with younger artists in the past 5 years. The case studies are public. From label CEOs going viral for the wrong reasons to executive shakeups across major streaming platforms, the trend is undeniable. The old way is collapsing. Rocky just decided not to wait for permission to step around the rubble. Here's the third layer. The Jay-Z resurfaces aren't random. The 2005 Def Jam story recirculating right now, the 16-year-old, the 3 a.m., the we didn't let her leave, that's not organic. Resurfaces happen when somebody wants them to happen. Whoever benefits from Jay-Z's old protection model looking creepy benefits. The second Rocky's her body, her choice goes viral. Connect the dots. The cultural narrative is being weaponized against the old guard, and Jay-Z's silence isn't strength. It's him realizing he's being checkmated by a culture that already moved on. Our opposition represents the OLD guard that the culture is done protecting. And here's a cherry. The Def Jam story has been part of music industry lore for years, but the timing of this particular resurface is suspicious. Articles, podcasts, and TikToks all dropping retrospective pieces in the same window. When everyone remembers something at once, somebody pressed a button. And the only person who benefits from that button being pressed is a person whose modern-day quote needs cultural cover. Here's the fourth layer, the part that's gonna make people uncomfortable. Rihanna picked Rocky precisely because he wouldn't act like Jay-Z. You'll keep talking about her relationship like she's a passive piece in Jay-Z's chessboard. She's not. This woman built a billion-dollar empire from cosmetics to laundry to streaming to motherhood. She doesn't need a protector. She needs a partner who won't try to brand manage her. And Rocky's her body. Her choice wasn't him failing to step up. It was him passing the test SHE set, not the test Jay-Z set. Every move Rocky makes is calculated for her approval, not Hov's. Our opposition is playing checkers, thinking Rocky owes him allegiance, while Rocky is playing chess with the ONE person whose opinion actually pays his bills. Rihanna's Fenty Beauty alone reshaped the global cosmetics industry, with a brand widely credited for forcing competitors to expand their inclusive shade ranges in what's now called the Fenty effect. When you build that level of cultural impact independently, you don't need a husband who manages you. You need one who stays out of the way of your magic. Rocky understood the assignment. Hov is still grading from the wrong rubric. And that's the truth they won't tell you. This whole situation is Jay-Z realizing, for the first time in 20 years, that his protege doesn't need him anymore. The student didn't surpass the teacher. The student graduated, started her own school, got accredited, and now Hov is showing up to her campus uninvited, mad that the curriculum changed. So what happens next? Buckle up, because the forecast is wild. Here's what's most likely to happen. Jay-Z is never gonna make a public statement on this. Mark my words. He's gonna let the silence do the work. Rock Nation is gonna stay quiet. The partnerships are gonna feel different. And within 90 days, expect a subtle business signal. Maybe a Rihanna appearance at a Rock Nation adjacent event without Rocky next to her. That's how Ho plays. He doesn't punch. He stages photos. And when that happens, opposition is gonna look desperate trying to explain why he wasn't in the frame. The silence is gonna hurt Rocky more than any diss track could. The Hall playbook on this kind of conflict is documented going back 2 decades. When he wants to send a message, he sends it through optics, not statements. Look at how he's handled prior public disagreements with Kanye, with major label XX, with festival organizers, all resolved through positioning, not press conferences. The man has a black belt in passive pressure. Rocky better start practicing his solo red carpet poses, because they are coming whether he's ready or not. Now, if the alternative happens, if Rocky doubles down, if he goes on a podcast in the next few weeks and repeats some version of Her Body, Her Choice, it's over for the truce. Because at that point, Jay-Z is forced to respond, and Hov doesn't lose those rounds. We saw what he did with the dismissed lawsuit fallout when he finally spoke up. When Hov decides to talk, the narrative bends. Rocky is not ready for what's coming if Jay-Z takes this seriously. Because here's the thing nobody factors in. Hov has a documented track record of comeback statements that absolutely flip cultural momentum overnight. From the way he addressed earlier industry beefs to the way his measured statements have historically dominated news cycle for weeks, his rhetorical batting average is insane. Rocky going head-to-head with that on a podcast circuit will be like bringing a Nerf gun to a sniper duel. But here's the wild card. Rihanna might step in before either man can move. If she drops a single statement saying, "Leave my husband alone," the entire Carter doctrine cracks publicly. Either way, Rocky wins because a woman with all the cultural capital is standing next to him. And let's be real, Rihanna has shown over and over that when she breaks a silence, the internet stops what it's doing. Her social media posts routinely cross hundreds of millions of impressions, and her fan base known as the Navy is one of the most coordinated in modern fandom. One Instagram caption from her could end this entire saga in 24 hours. And whoever she defends gets a cultural insurance policy of the decade. Looking at the bigger picture, this moment is a cultural fault line. 5 years from now, hip-hop journalists are gonna point at Her Body, Her Choice as the day the old-school mogul protection model officially died. The next generation of artists watching this, Ice Spice, Glorilla, Lato, Doha, they are taking notes. They are seeing that the partner who doesn't try to control wins the public sympathy and the empire. Jay-Z is watching the culture move on without him, and there's nothing he can do about it. His response to the dismissed allegations already showed he understands today's hip-hop battles go too far. Translation? He knows he can't out-meme Gen Z. He can't out-brand Fenty. And he definitely can't out-cool a man whose only crime was trusting his wife in public. This is gonna be the moment everyone remembers as when the Carter influence on the next generation officially expired. And the data backs a cultural shift. Gen Z streaming numbers, social media engagement metrics, and brand affinity studies all point to a generation that values transparency over control in every category, from politics to relationships to corporate leadership. Jay-Z represents an era that built empires on opacity. Rocky and Rihanna represent an era that builds them on visibility. Two religions, one newsroom, and only one of them is gonna be canon 10 years from now. Whatever happens, one thing's clear, Jay-Z already lost. The moment Rocky said those 5 words and didn't apologize, the moment Rihanna stood next to him on every red carpet that followed, the moment the culture didn't burn Rocky alive for disrespecting the Carter brand, that was a loss. Hov can stage all the photos he wants. He can stay silent for the next decade. But the conversation has shifted. The throne has cracked. And the next king of hip-hop influence isn't a man at all. It's a woman with a lipstick line, a laundry empire, 3 children, and a husband who finally said the only words that mattered. Her body. Her choice. It's not for me to control. 5 words. 1 revolution. 0 takebacks. And as we close this out, just remember, the receipts, the timeline, the linguistics, and the cultural data all tell the same story. Rocky didn't fumble. He won. He just won a game Hov didn't know they were playing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found.